Okay, it's 9:30. And our first question for Madison Cruz is going to be, for Maddie, we got to ask, how are the sinuses?
Oh gosh, not great, guys. It's okay though. we're we're gonna be fine. They're not great though. I will say it's rough out here. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
And it is one of those where, and Jason is the same way. I am, but not to the degree that the two of you are. Where literally, if it's like the whiplash of conditions, you go from decent to cold as you know what, and then back to decent, and it's just that whiplash that completely and totally just blows up your sinuses. True.
Yeah, it's like it's weird because like I think the weather is just like throwing me off completely. Like it's with like the weird change that's happening like back and forth. It's all of that stuff which is so wild and it's just annoying. It's just getting really annoying and I'm not having a good time, but it's okay. And you know what? We're going to survive and everything will be great. It's
Yes.
just
You got to see the early parts of Atlanta United in the preseason. Obviously, since that is right where we are, that is where we focus a lot of our energy. You and Jason had the chance to go up to the Children's Health Care of Atlanta training ground, and now we're in week 2, where hopefully players' sinuses are responding better than ours are to all of this stuff. What are you looking forward to the most coming into training camp, heading into the regular season this year?
yeah, I mean, I think well, first of all, I think a lot of the stuff like was answered early on. I mean, we had the chance to talk to Latte Lath and Miguel Amaron, and then you had the chance to talk to Chris Henderson, Tata Martino, as well as Anaya Mihai. And I think it's echoing the same statements as well. It's a lot of, yes, I think you need to acknowledge what happened last season, but a lot of it is we take what happened last season and you're moving forward and you're taking that and you're trying to build and you're trying to get better, learn from those mistakes and keep moving forward. And I think it was really cool hearing a lot of the players talk about it. I think it was really great hearing Tata talk about those things too. And I think there was a lot to take away from every single person's press conference talking about, the gearing up for the season. But like, as we always say, it's really early with preseason. This is always a stepping stone of kind of figuring out, what's happening, especially with the new head coach, and we won't really know exactly how Tata wants this team to play. We get an idea of how this team wants to be under Tata. That's a given. We already know the type of manager Tata is with how he wants them to play. Really, high attacking football. Like that's exactly what we're going to see, but the way things might be playing out, we won't really know really until that preseason game on that Friday on the 30th. You won't really know, but I'm excited. It's fun. It was nice to get back in the swing of things though, because I was getting a little bit anxious because of my schedule not being together and stuff.
It's like, okay, so can we get things moving here so we can figure out our schedules and get everything all squared away?
I
Uh,
know it's weird because you go to the training ground for like a week and like now it's like, oh well, I think they're full preseason mode. So then we're like, oh okay, well now we're back to just a regularly scheduled programming.
and I want to bring in a couple of sound bites too, especially with the coverage that we do here at SDH. You got the opportunity to catch up with Chris Henderson at his opening of the season press conference and press opportunity. And your question had to do with Atlanta United 2 and the integration of Jose Silva, Tata Martino, and all of that. Here's your question and Hendy's response from his opening season presser.
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to have Tata and his staff signed on early, so we've had a lot of meetings kind of leading into this year where we got our staff together leading into the college draft, super draft. And Jose, I think, had a long runway to show what he could do as he was interim coach for that team, and he did a really good job. So we're excited with his connection he has with those players. I think that team might get a little bit younger now as we start to look through what's coming through the academy. We need a pathway for these guys to develop on that team to eventually get into the first team. So we're happy, and we think Jose is going to do a really good job with that team. And we need to get a team that's a playoff team there and get experience so players can push through and put some pressure on the first team.
And I like what Chris said there about being a playoff team. getting right to decision day and being up at Fort Finley at the end of the regular season and working at math and everything, and just the furious rush that Jose and the staff did after Steve Cook's departure to go north. But Jose Silva and the run that we had with Atlanta United 2 late last year to get right on the edge of the playoffs, I'm really intrigued with what it's going to look like with, as Chris says, probably younger guys going after a playoff berth in MLS Next Pro this season.
No, I completely agree. And that was one of the reasons why I asked him that question, is because it was announced, and it's something too to talk about as well, because of the emphasis I think that there has been with the academy and with the second team, especially heading from last year and even this year now. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that Chris even said at the end of the year presser that we had as well. It's, you don't want to block those kids from those opportunities, because I think it's the one thing about it's the one thing about the academy and the system, especially with what we have set up here, because of the cap. I mean, homegrowns are a big part in a lot of these rosters, and you utilize them as much as you can. And there's so much talent, I think, in that squad that are just incredible. And it's something too that even Chris said later on, talking about like the depth, especially when you talk about wingers. He mentioned Santiago Pita as one of the players that could step up and be in that position too, along with Luke Brennan. And, two of them are homegrowns. And I think it was important for me to ask, especially because of our coverage, I think, of Atlanta United too, but also too in the grand scheme of just realizing everything going on, because of the way this season is and the schedule is. We don't even know what Open Cup might look like too, and those other tournaments as well. You might be relying on a lot of those young guys to step up and really, wear the badge. And I think that's why it was important to ask. And also it's important to know as well, just from aligning to seeing how those things work. Jose Silva did an incredible job last season, and I'm really excited to see him, take the mantle again and, keep things rolling into 2026. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Silva ball,
guys. It's Silva ball.
And we don't know yet scheduling in MLS Next Pro, but when we do, we'll catch up with Ali Curtis and everybody at the league office and find out what they learned about last season coming into this year. You mentioned the twos, and I played the Ronan win highlight on purpose for opening kickoff. It gave us kind of a reason to go from Auckland back all the way back here. So Auckland to Atlanta. It was brought to us by the letter A in the first 30 minutes.
I love it.
When you look at the younger guys from last season, that the homegrowns and that's another part of this. That let me actually tell you what. Let me play the homegrown soundbite. Then we'll get into homegrowns and younger dudes and all this kind of stuff that you're going to be looking forward to here in 26. So, following up your question was Jason's question to Chris about the homegrowns and their role. Here's Chris's answer.
Yeah, I would say it's important to recognize Javier Perez, what he's doing with methodology in our academy, and then Jose and Will Bates with the second team, because they get the culture of the club, who we are. They come into the first team and they know how to act, and they understand kind of how this pathway works. So I think I'm really pleased when we have players who can come through the system and now are trying to break through. Pete is a great example. But we have many of them, Luke Brennan as well, and we're going to see more and more, hopefully, contributing to the first team. So I think that culture piece and the steps that they need to take is important to have fluidity throughout the club.
What he said and what you said, basically, yeah. So it's.
I know I didn't realize you were going to play that clip. I wouldn't have jumped the gun if I knew.
No, it's all good, because then it reemphasizes what we're looking for when it comes to the homegrowns and the twos and getting everybody ready for that next level. I mean, you look at Will Riley and what he was able to do. He starts in the academy, leaves, comes back, and you see what he's been able to do when he's healthy. Cooper Sanchez got a cup of coffee with Atlanta United. First team minutes, didn't shy away from any of that. Was a part of things with the twos as well. You mentioned Santi Pita. What is when it comes to the younger players? All things being equal, not knowing what rosters and training camp is going to look like, who are you most looking forward to seeing in 26 take that next step? I've got a couple of names myself. I want to see if my names match yours, and you go first.
Yeah, for the twos.
Yeah, for the twos, whether it's a homegrown that is working their way up to get more minutes with the twos, or someone with the twos that we saw last year that's going to be getting more minutes we would anticipate with them this year.
It's early in the morning, John. Hold on, let me look up the roster. I know one for me is Santiago Pizza. I
Right.
think for sure he's number one for me. I think I really liked what he did, especially not only with the twos but with the academy as well. I think he really took a big step forward. Didi Cibrian's another one that I think took a big step forward too, and I think seeing both of them back on the field together, that'll be really, really, really fun. I think they'll be just really great bouncing off of each other. I will say I'm really excited to see Toto Majub back again as well. I really loved his performance in last year's season. I thought he did a phenomenal job. I love the way he plays as a defender. I think he's a very strong defender. I think he's a defender that isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but I think he's also very, very smart the way he tackles the game. And I'm excited to see him back. And that's going to be fun. Jonathan Ransom is another
There
one.
you go. That was one that I had.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Ransom, I think just continuing to see him grow as a keeper, especially now, especially with what we know from our conversation with Jono, he mentioned, talking to Brad in an interview. I think they did a while ago. I forget what he said it was, but he remembers talking to Brad. And he said, Brad said, I want one of you guys talking to the homegrown goalkeepers to take my place when I'm done. And I think that it's just a testament. I think for Jono, it's about pushing and pushing the mantle a little bit and getting to a point where, he is getting into the question as well. And obviously you have such great goalkeepers now with the core. You have Jaden Hibbert, and then obviously you have the new signing with Lucas Oyos as well. And I think, but again, you got Jono, who Jono is very, very good too. Ignacio Suarez Corey is another one that I'm really looking forward to continue to see as well. We saw him a little bit last season, and he slowly started to make his way forward. But I think those are a lot of the academy guys I'm excited to see. You also have Moises Tablante. We get to see a good old Moises as well too. Maybe doing some more backflips as well into the.
As long as he spikes the landing, that's all that matters.
I think he will. I think he's got it now. No, there's just so many players I think I'm looking forward to seeing too. And I'm excited too because, it is going to look a lot younger. But again, it's like what we talk about before with the twos always, you need to have that balance of having those young players while also having players like a Jono Ransom, who's, a little bit more experienced in that role and being in that professional atmosphere, getting those minutes in the play and especially trying to get into the playoffs last season were so big, I think, for so many of those young players as well. And I think you also look at everything with these older players too. They're looking to continue their career and continue to build. You have so many new players that have come in. Enzo from UNC Greensboro. I had the chance to see him in the SoCon Championship against Furman, and they are a very good team. He's a very good player. And I think you have that balance of a lot of those young academy players who are going to be creeping in. And I think you're going to get a good mix of those guys who are from the MLS draft, who are a little bit older as well, like Moises and Toto, who are going to be asked to help lead this team and help these young kids also grow as they also try to continue their careers and grow too.
Donaldson was another one that popped into my head.
Donaldson, yes, absolutely.
So you got GK Union growing with Atlanta United and twos and the homegrowns and such.
Yep.
Santi Pizza and Ignacio Suarez, really looking forward to seeing how their games grow in the season. Toto Majub, the kid had absolutely no fear, none whatsoever.
No, he has no fear, and I love it. It.
And the idea of it's like, yeah, I know I'm a left center back, but sure, I'm going to go ahead and go on a 60-yard run with the ball, and I'm going to go ahead and get things moving on offense. And then not afraid to defend and not afraid to get stuck in tackles, not afraid to knock somebody off their pins, not afraid to sit there and challenge dudes who are bigger and taller than he is. And it was a joy to see his game evolve last year as well. So there are a lot of different dudes that you sit there and we always forget just how young they are.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Crazy. You sit there, you look at the DOB and you're going, wait a minute. Wow, you're only 16, 17, whatever. And how mature a Jono Ransom is. I mean, Jono playing on the international level, running smack at players in U18 World Cups and things.
Yeah.
No fear in that. But no, there's with the offensive players that we got to see with Didi Cibrian for me.
No, yeah, Didi Cibrian.
Just another one where Didi was thrown in to the lineup. It's like, okay, Jose's like, I need you to give me minutes. And then he becomes more and more comfortable with his surroundings and with what you're anticipating, especially with the older independent clubs that they would go up against in the Eastern Conference and Next Pro. And Didi Cibrian came out the other side, and he came out the other side. I think that he was one of the great success stories of last year after being basically thrown into the fire, and then he just comes out the other side with the great work that he did last year.
Yeah. Well, it's even important too for a lot of those players. Like, you saw in that and closer to the end of the regular season for the first team, there was you needed a lot of players to help fill those gaps, especially heading to Miami. And obviously wasn't the result you wanted, but you saw like a Patrick Weah, you saw a Moises Tamonte, you saw a Sal Mazzaferro. Sal had to come in, immediately. Immediately after there was an injury to Stian Gregerson. He had to check in probably earlier than anybody thought he would, and had to come in and make an impact. But it's because of the work that I think Steve Cook did at the very beginning of the season, that Jose Silva continued to do throughout the rest of the season, that allowed for these players to continue to grow. And Patrick Weah is one that I talked about. I didn't mention before, but I do want to talk about as well, because I think he had a slower start to the season, but then found his rhythm and had been unstoppable ever since. And again, he's someone else that I think is looking to continue to grow, and I'm excited to see him up top there. Maybe some more chaos, maybe some more Scorpion kick goals. Who knows? We'll see what he has. We'll see what he has in store for him. Honestly, I think the challenge will be that I'm going to ask him is like, so you going to make another goal of the year, or what's happening? But but no, I think that's what it's what the twos are for. And I think this year, especially because of the roster you have and because of the playmakers you have and the experience of these young kids that you have. I mean, Santi Pita, Didi Cibrian were starting and getting heavy minutes towards the end of last season. And that's going to be huge, especially heading into the beginning of this year, because they're already ready to go. They're already ready to go and get the start. So once we get the schedule, once we know a little bit more about what this season's going to look like for MLS Next Pro, they're going to be ready to go. Atlanta United, I think, is in a really good position, especially with MLS Next Pro, to, maybe breach the playoffs this year.
Can we just say please? Can that happen? Just please let there be postseason involving Atlanta United too. I think that would be a really cool thing for all of the fans, for the front office, obviously, because of all of the effort that they have invested in the twos and the academy. It shows you that your academy and what we're seeing, with what Javier has been able to piece together and looking at talent and such. But all of that time where you've been banging on the door, and then you finally get the door open, that's one of those things for me that I'm really looking forward to when it comes to all this stuff. I'm just saying.
I agree.
When it comes to, I'm going to go back to the first team.
Yeah.
And kind of break it down a little bit line by line. And with everyone that is now in camp and such. And you look at the roster, and obviously at the back, you mentioned Lucas Hoyos, you mentioned Jaden Hibbert. Those are your only two keepers in camp. You figure it's going to be a 1 or a 1A or a 1A or a 1B, however you phrase it. It's going to be open competition. Jaden gets to learn from Lucas. Lucas is that experienced dude that you had for just these reasons of multiple competitions and such. Defenders. Right now, the defenders, and this is just how it's listed by the club. Amador Baracol, who's on loan till the end of fiscal year, end of June. DCQ, Matt Edwards, Ronald Hernandez, Stian Gregerson, Thomas Jakob, and A.M. Mihai, and Caden Moore. When you look at that position group, what sticks out to you when it comes to those defenders that are in camp?
Oof. I really am excited to see Tomas. I'm really excited to see him because of the way he plays. And also the added thing that I think it kind of fell under the radar in the presser is that he can play the 6. He can go in and kind of play that position. He can play that more defensive midfielder position like Bartosz Slisz played. And so that can also help fill in some of those gaps, especially when you're looking at what the roster might start to look like, especially with other things too. It also helps, especially when you come into a pinch and you need him to come in and step up and be that position. But Tomas is someone I really am excited to see play. I'm really excited to see him once things get going, how he fits into this team. I'm really excited. DCQ, I'm excited to see him continue to grow as well. I am also very excited to see Ronald Hernandez back as well. When that was re-signed, I think it's so important to have a player who has been with the team for so long, especially when you're filling that role of, I think, the veteran as well as the player who's been there for a long time and knows the culture and knows what Atlanta United's supposed to be. And Ronald Hernandez knows that. And especially with Brad Guzan retiring, you have a lot of, like, Miguel Almiron obviously knows how the foundation was of Atlanta United. I was here since the very beginning. He's someone who can be that too. But I think having a player who's been because Ronald's now the longest standing player in it for Atlanta United right now. And I think that is important. And his leadership, I think, on and off the field kind of goes unnoticed sometimes. And I think it's important to bring up because he is one of those big voices in the locker room. I mean, Miguel talked about it. I asked him about it as well. And no, he said it too. Ronald is admired and loved by everybody in the club, not just on the field or off the field in the locker room, but everywhere. And that means something. That is going to help, especially trying to get this team together and get things rolling. And I mean, it feeds back to something that Anea said, especially talking about Tata with everything else, something that Tata was saying, they need to put their corazon, their heart, into whatever they're doing on the pitch. And I mean, I don't think anyone else, if you tell me anybody else about a heart of Atlanta United, I always think of Ronald Hernandez. So I think that's why it's important to have a player like him in that area, in that position as well. And also too, because of his versatility. I think he can play wherever he's asked of. I mean, I think Ronnie even said it last season. He was playing as in the right back role. That's his natural position. And it was funny because he's always been asked to, play every other area, but Ronald doesn't care. He's like, I'll do it. He's like, whatever helps the team, I'm in.
And one of the things, and I would ask, and this is more for folks that are, they get to watch the occasional video on social media or what have you. Every single shot, I swear, every single shot of Ronald Hernandez, when it's just a casual shot or a cameo or whatever, it's just a, one of those team integrated photo things. Ronald is always grabbing the crest. I swear, every single piece of video I see, every single clip, every single photo, when it's Ronald is a casual shot, Ronald stares right into the camera and he's grabbing that crest and he practically is yanking it off the jersey every single time that we get to see Ronald. And when you've got the guy that can do literally, if you want Ronald to be a second striker, he'd be like, "Yep, all right, sign me up, dial it in, wherever you need. You need me to save PKs. I'm in. Just give me the keeper jersey and the big bopper gloves, and I'm ready to go." But I mean, Ronald knows what the crest means, and he lives and dies by that crest. And to have someone that versatile is always clutch. The sale of Edwin Mosqueda to Santa Fe creates another U22 opening. Then there were the rumors of Elias Baez from San Lorenzo at left back for left back competition. No update on that. So you're looking at left back with Pedro and DCQ and the competition there. You're looking for Matt Edwards to be healthy to help you out at center back because Stian Gregerson, you want him to be healthy for you for a full 34, but that right now hasn't happened. So you need the backup there. With Matt Edwards, that's attached to everything. I agree with you. I'm looking for Thomas Jakob. I want to see how he integrates at right back and what he gets to learn from everybody else. Midfield. And this is, once again, it's just position group by the club. This is not necessarily what their active duty is.
Yeah.
Miggy Alzate, Jay, Saba, Alexi. We can skip Mosqueda now, considering he's out the door. So it's 10 midfielders. Tristan, Santi Pita, Will Riley, Cooper Sanchez, Aiden Torres. So when I mention those 10 to you, what sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is I think the first one is Saba, because I think, Saba has been, I think, a player that I've really loved watching since I joined you guys and covering the team back in 2024. I think Saba is an electric player. I think he is so electric. He gives his heart and soul, I think, whenever he's out onto the field. And I think last season, obviously, I don't think was the best, but I mean, I think you can say that about everything. I
Did
mean, obviously, it was
Saba did Saba push too hard, you think? Considering that he wasn't a guy, he was the guy, and so I think that Saba might have been pressuring himself too much last season, and it kind of showed, and you could see that he was grinding a lot last year.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think in the sense that I think it started to affect everybody with what was happening last season. Even, I mean, you talk to Miguel as well as with Emmanuel Latte-Lath, and they kind of said the same thing. They were all in disbelief, with what happened last year. But I think, again, it's about not running from the mistakes of last season. You have to take what happened last season. You have to learn from it. You have to understand what happened, and then that way you get better moving forward. And so I think Saba this season, I'm excited to see maybe that new perspective for him, and where he fits there as well, because and especially with how the lineup might shape out. The one thing that I found really interesting, and this is something that Tata Martino, and it's something that I've talked about too, there's been this narrative, I think, shifting around talking about how Alexei Miranchuk and Miguel Amaron are not compatible and they can't play on the field together. And it's something that I think is I disagree completely, because, and it's something Tata even came out and said too. He said, this is a quote, I have it from SDH too. He said, I think they're perfectly complementary. Miguel can help with the buildup and with the finishing. Alexei is the ability to provide assists. That's the combination that they want to see. And that's something I don't think we got a lot of last season. It felt a little at times, but when you saw it clicked, and it clicked really nicely. And I think that's that's the thing here with a player like Alexei. I mean, he's so intelligent when it comes to the game. His passing, his technical quality. I mean, his ability on the ball and his ability to read the game is absolutely fantastic. I think I sat there some games and would watch him play a ball, and I'd be like, that is brilliant. Like, that is so incredible. What matters now, though, is just as much as the team around them, it's the structure to allow all those qualities to translate into results. And that's what Tata's going to do. Tata's going to do that. He knows what Miguel can do. He knows what Alexei can do. He knows what Latte-Lath can do. He knows what all those pieces can do. And it's about figuring out the best way and the best structure to allow for every single one of those players to continue to perform, to build off of each other. And I think that's what's important too, especially with those two players. And adding Latte-Lath into the mix as well. I think you want to get those players combining too. And I think it'll be really interesting to see where that sets up. Because I mean, it wouldn't shock me personally if you see maybe a situation where it is almost like maybe like you get almost like two forwards up top, and it is Latte-Lath. Maybe you have him sit and you're just there having him do what he needs to do up top. Maybe it's Miguel to his right, maybe with Alexei sitting underneath, but that doesn't mean that Miguel has to stay there. I think maybe you have a situation where it is, hey, if Alexei's carrying the ball forward, Miguel takes that spot underneath there, or it's vice versa, whatever is happening there. But, it's what Tata said, Miguel is very, very good in the build-up play and in finishing. And Alexei is the ability to kind of play the puppet master a little bit. He can kind of draw back and, connect the dots and get things going. And I think that was another big takeaway for me for talking to Tata Martino about those two players specifically, because again, I think the narrative has been that, it's one or the other, when I don't think it has to be. You have two aces. Why not use two aces?
I mean, shoot, a pair of aces is better than, a 9 high hand when you're playing 5.
Exactly. So I love what Tata said about it too, because I think it's realizing, you have so much talent, and you have so much talent on this roster. And it is about just finding the right structure, finding the right things that will bring out those qualities in those players. And then you'll see results as they start to translate too.
All right. The other name that I'm looking forward to is a healthy Jay Fortune.
Yes.
And
yes.
Still cursing Ervenar and the Saudi Arabia national team at any given opportunity. I want to see how a healthy Jay Fortune integrates possibly that second 6. If you're going to do the 4-2-3-1, have Alzate and Jay or something like that.
It's so unfortunate. Chris talked about it, and he's like, it was really unfortunate. And I think it was too, because Jay was on a hot streak. He was killing it last season. And it's so unfortunate how it happened, because he was playing so well, and it just kind of it's just one of those unfortunate things that happens. But I mean, I believe from seeing some posts from Jay on Instagram, he was back doing some training to an extent. I'm not exactly sure what that looked like, but he did post something about him training. So it looks like he's getting back to form, which is awesome. And that's always great to see for Jay. I'm excited to see him this season and, that step for him and getting back onto the field because, he was someone that I think really shined last season. And, I mean, I think even from talking to Abe, it was really funny. I think he was still like one of the leading categories in our like player of the match for like a good while. I think it was like, I think second or third with what it looked like for a while. And he had so many great games and it was really unfortunate, obviously with the injury, but I'm happy to see him get back and slowly start finding his way back onto the pitch. I don't necessarily know when we might get the chance to see him again, especially, when it comes to starting or getting those moments. But I think for right now, especially for an injury like that, it's just about taking the time to get back healthy and, finding yourself again. It's something Chris talked about, that's a big part of it too, because we talk about it from a physical standpoint. It's about working your way back up, finding those muscles again, finding the rhythm again. It's also a mental thing too. It's a mental thing as well. And, overcoming that too. But Jay is a phenomenal player. Jay is a great player. I'm really excited to see him back, especially getting things going again. I'm very excited to see Jay this season.
Added time with Maddie Cruz as we were past the top of the hour here in hour number 2. Position group last. Forwards, you mentioned Latte Lot. Ashton Gordon has been loaned to Chattanooga FC. That's going to make for some interesting bedfellows with that matchup in the next pro coming up this season. So the ones left on the table, Luke, Jamal, and Cayman Togashi. What sticks in your head?
Mm-hmm. I think Luke Brennan. I think Luke Brennan had a really, really good season last season. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to grow, really continue to push and continue just to cause waves. Because it's something that I asked Anea, Chris, as well as Tata about in that presser was competition and how important competition is, and especially to a team. And Anea said it best. It's, it does a great thing, competition. It pushes you. It gets you forward. It's going to help motivate you. But also, too, at the end of the day, every single player wants the same thing. They want Atlanta United to win. They want Atlanta United to do well. They want to get Atlanta United back to where it was. That was the message. And I think, but competition is so important. And I think when you have a player like Luke Brennan, who is pushing for minutes and who did do a lot last season, it creates a lot. And I think for Luke, it's just continuing to push, continuing to be better, continuing to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing for minutes. And I think for Latte Lath, it's the same thing. We talked to him very first day back at training, and it's one thing for both of them. I think Manu, obviously, I think a lot of people, no one had the best season last season, and I think that's something we should all around go. It was not the best season at all. It wasn't a season I think any of us expected. But I think that's the better way to say this. But I think the one thing for Manu is I think the break is so important, and people forget like Latte Lath was thrown in like maybe didn't have had what maybe not even a year and a half off, was going for a year and a half.
Yeah, because you're going full blown in the EFL Championship, then you get transferred, then you have to continue and play a full season in soccer. So you have all that.
It wasn't like Manu didn't come in either till like it was like maybe the last couple of weeks of preseason. So like immediately, it's not like there's a small break between that. Like you're in preseason, you got to keep going. And so you had that break and there was no break, but now he finally got an off season where, he's able to relax, able to spend time with family, able to kind of mentally reset, not really think about anything. Now you get an opportunity to get a full preseason under your belt, a full preseason to get to know this team, to get to understand those playmakers, to get to understand a little bit more about Miguel and with Alexi and maybe what Tata wants that role to be. And, for him specifically, but you get that time to reset. And I think that's really important. It's, again, something that we don't talk about when it comes to the mental side of the game and how important some of those resets are, especially when it comes to playing. And I think that's important too. And, he talked about it as well, how important that time was just to be able to breathe and reset. And now you're back into focus. Now you're back and you're back into training, getting things going and, get things rolling. And I think those are the two that I'm curious to see, which is Luke and Manu. I think they're going to be really interesting to watch going forward. And then two, got to bring in Cayman because, again, listen, Cayman, I think, is such a great player too. And I think, again, he's another veteran that can really help a lot of these young guys step up. And also, I think Cayman is a phenomenal player as well. And I'm excited to see him wherever he is, whether it's with first team, helping the first team out in those moments, or coming down, helping this twos a little bit too.
And just ask FC Cincinnati what they think about Will Riley and Cayman Togashi. That's all I got to say.
Seriously.
All right. So what's next up for you and Jason at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, sinuses permitting?
Oh, I mean, right now, I think we're just hanging out. We're going to continue to cover the team.
You're chilling like villains, basically, until your sinuses.
Yeah, chilling like villains, basically. We're getting things rolling, or trying to get into full swing, obviously, this week. And then you have, wait, sorry, I was looking at my calendar. It's still on December because I was fully confused as to why. I was like, whoa, I don't have a new calendar. That's my mistake. I should get one. Anyway, actually, this is my calling card. What calendar theme should I get, guys? I need to know. It was Ted Lasso last time, so I gotta get a different one. But I mean, you have this week, obviously, for preseason, where the team's in Miami. I didn't actually know until I went on Instagram this morning and I saw I think Atlanta United posted like the little palm trees, and I was like, oh, that seems so nice right now.
You're like, wait a minute.
That seems so nice right now. I wish I was in Miami. I wish. But then you have next week, and then you have the preseason game. So we'll be gearing up, getting ready for that one. I unfortunately will not be there at the preseason game.
What?
Well, I do have a prior commitment with Georgia State. I will be doing their Women Excel panel that I did last season, so I'll be doing it this year as well. Always a great event for Georgia State. It's basically a panel talking about some women who are leading, especially when it comes to sports, whether it's from a broadcast side or creative marketing, more on the law side, agent side, medical side. It's an important opportunity, I think, to spread that and spread the love of that. It also, too, gives an opportunity for a lot of these young athletes who are within Georgia State to maybe, learn a little bit from these incredible women, and also, get a chance to network and get opportunities and get internships. And so it's always fun. I'm very happy that Gene Hill and Georgia State want me to do it again, because it was very fun last year, and I'm happy they're asking me to be the moderator again. So I'm very excited for that. But I will be watching from my car before the thing starts, and I will be keeping updates, and I would expect updates from all of you guys as well. So
oh yeah, no, it will be. Just want to make sure that your sinuses behave and that everything is good for that. As always, it's great to kind of go deep dive into what you think about the twos and the homegrowns as we get ready here in preseason, with the players in Florida not having to deal with any of the crap that we're going to be having to deal with this week.
They're living the life over there. I mean, well, they're gonna be working. They're gonna be working, practice, whatever. But they're also in Miami, and it's probably really nice over there right now, and it's cold over here. So
yes, yeah, exactly. Right there with you. Go hang upside down, or go put your humidifier or whatever, or go put a towel over your head, or go do whatever you need to do. Go, I don't know, put some coffee in front of you. Maybe the steam from the coffee will help out. I don't know.
Yeah, I did an iced coffee this morning, so it's maybe a hot coffee is in my future later, maybe decaf, maybe later.
You are never decaf. I hate
No,
to break.
You're
never. Maddie, it's always great to catch up with you, and obviously, don't be a stranger, because it's going to go at about 9,000 miles an hour very, very quickly. So it's great to have you here in the morning show, even if your sinuses are rebelling.
No, it was great to come back on to talk shop, all things United.
All right, be good. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. I will chat with y'all later. Have a good morning.